program. President Obama, I think, did the best he could given the constraints of the debt ceiling, and yet I'd like to see a lot more. Then we talk about wealth. We have a wealth gap. A black woman, single woman with children, has a median net worth of $125. $125. That's called nothing. That's called, that literally is called nothing. How do we begin to close wealth gaps? Well, we can have the reparations conversation, but it's probably not going to go anywhere. So let's really talk about how we put wealth into communities, how we begin to build wealth in communities. And one of the things that I must say is that we saw wealth building in our community as far back as the period of enslavement, when formerly old people purchased themselves. Formerly old people bought themselves. That is an economic empowerment act that's part of our history. One of the things that we must look at is encouragement of entrepreneurship. Because when we look at this job market and we see what's happening in this job market, if the majority of America is not going to hire us, one of the things that we must do is endeavor to hire ourselves. So we need to pay some attention to developing businesses in our own community so that we can hire our young people, so that we can do some of the other, and the church can play a major role. I don't think that the church has been the economic development engine that it might be. You, of course, my bishop, are excluded. Floyd Flake and Elaine Flake are excluded. There are about a dozen more. We can call, it's a shame if you can call the names of those ministers who are about economic empowerment. But I promise you, there are some folks who have holes in the ground where they wanted to build a mega church and didn't have enough money. And that money could have been used to enrich and develop their parishioners.
Thank you, Dr. Malveaux. Reverend Jackson referenced that this Sunday begins the football season. And Reverend Jackson, you're going to have to know that this is going to be one of the most striking seasons in NFL history because of the lockout. Is it a question of talent? It is not. Is it a question of potential? It is not. Is it a question of money earning? It is not. But during the lockout, the question is, did they train? And a lot of the athletes who were waiting to get paid didn't get training while they were locked out. And so now that they have the opportunity, they're going to get injured at a greater level because they didn't train for their moment. And so what we are seeing is the greatest generation of African-American young people who have access to education, access to internet, but are being injured because parents trained them to be consumers and not producers. This is the first generation of children who are going to live below the means of their parents, who are now becoming roommates with the people in whom they're supposed to be providing for. That they are now developing their own pool of income because there are three things that we're going to have to do as a part of the black community in order to turn this tide of the recession. Only three things. And those three things are entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship. In this hour, if we cannot find a job, we're going to have to start creating jobs. It is within our Afrocentric DNA to market ourselves into the marketplace. We don't ever wait on a job, we create a job. And so we got to go back to the roots of our grandmothers in South Carolina who were weaving baskets, in Georgia who were selling peaches. They found a way to do it and didn't use selling drugs as a cop-out as a full-time job. So we've got to find a way to infuse our people back into the marketplace under entrepreneurship. Between now, Dr. Spriggs, and 2016, America's going to see 100,000 new millionaires. 100,000 new millionaires. 73% of them will work from home. 35% of them will not have graduated from college. So every excuse that we have used in the past as to why we cannot get wealth is now thrown out the window. Second thing that we've got to do is redefine, Dr. Malveaux, that we are looking for wealth and not to be hood rich. And that for you to have wealth is not for you to have red bottom shoes and a Louis Vuitton bag and go to the Essence Festival. For you to have wealth is to set up a standard of wealth for your children that come behind you so that they don't have to make that same kind of sacrifice. In the Jewish community, when a Jewish couple gets married, the first year of their marriage, they do not work. The first year that a married couple in the the Jewish community get married, they do not work because in the Jewish community, your job in your first year is learning your spouse. In the black community, we spend the first year paying off the wedding that only can last to the fourth year. So something has to happen for me to what is our way of building. Last but not least, let me say it's going to be very hard for the church to really, Dr. Elaine, move into a vein of economic development when we are in part major contributors of the recession, because we have infused the false premise of a prosperity doctrine of looking for health, wealth, and prosperity under the false caveat of favor without fiduciary responsibility. And so we talk about getting a new house, getting a new car, and when we get the house, get the car, we stand up in church and say, look at what God has done. Then when we lose the house, the church can't help us save the house. We just say it's too bad. And something is wrong if, in fact, we're not giving a holistic gospel. And any church, whether it is the flex that you're talking about or any other church that's doing economic development, if the pastor is the only person in the church doing well, then the church is out of order. If the pastor's not on the tables or living in the suburbs, but if you're going to live there, show the members how to do it. If the pastor and the first lady are the only ones in the Lexus and the BMW and the members are on the bus stop, it's out of order and demonic. So we're going to deal with spiritual order